Hello and welcome to Modern Mentoring with Lani Phillips. Come on in. We're actually streaming live on LinkedIn Live. We're also on YouTube, so welcome. And some of you may even be joining us on Twitter. So come on in. So excited to have you join tonight. Let's give it a few minutes. I know people are transferring over, so I'm so excited to get started. We have a great conversation to have together. I've got some stuff I've been thinking about I want to share with you, so come on in. Hello, Christopher, my dear friend. How are you today? Hi, Jason. Oh, good. I hope you get something from the conversation. I really do. I really thought long and hard about this. I've got so many tips to share here, and we only have 1 hour, so I'm going to try and get through it for you all to get as much of this wisdom as you can, and I really hope it helps. Hi, Alicia. Welcome. I'm excited to have you here. You have your notebook and pen ready? Good. You're going to need it today. You're going to definitely need it today. Let's give it another couple of minutes. I know a number of people are planning to join, and I just want to make sure that I give everyone time to join before I kick things off. So, you having a great day today? Yeah, I don't get to see everybody as they come in. It's a little delay on my side. So I see Christopher, Jason, and Alicia. So is your day a good day so far? I guess it's almost over for some of you. You're good. You had 2 speaking engagements today? That's awesome. And now you're listening to me. Yes, Christopher. Hopefully you even get something from this conversation to help other people. All right, I'm going to give it another minute, and then we're just going to jump right on in. It's been a good day. Can't complain, Alicia. Good. You know, I had a good day too. It was a busy day. Hi, Shabam. Wonderful day. I love that. I'll share this with you. I actually had a guy that worked in the office, and this was in Chicago in our Downers Grove office. Every time I talk to him, I don't care. It was consistent. Hi, Anita. Yes, we do have to catch up. Every time I would ask him how he was doing, he said, "It's a wonderful day." And I said to him, "I've noticed you say that every time I talk to you." And he says that it controls the tempo of his day. So I thought, that's really smart. To just, you have to say it and then eventually you will catch up. So why don't we go ahead and get started, because I know I've got a lot of information here to share with you. So welcome to Modern Mentoring. It's me, your host, Lani Phillips. I just want to thank you for creating space to come together so we can talk about a very, very important topic. I have to tell you, the reason I picked this topic today is because it's the number one question I get. What is the difference between a mentor and a sponsor? The part that I added is I've added the piece about the unwritten part. What are the unwritten rules? Because take it from someone who spends a great deal of her time mentoring. I spend a lot of time talking to people, and I'm a mentee as well. And it's interesting how when you start to exchange stories, things start to, bubble up, and those things that kind of irritate people or they find frustrating. So I thought it was important that I share those tips with you in hopes of helping you to create stronger mentoring relationships with people where you're either the mentee or the mentor. And I also want you to really understand that sponsorship piece, because a lot of people have questions around that. So I see Nakia just joined. Welcome. And I hope I pronounced that right, Nakia. And Jennifer joined. So welcome. I also just want to make sure I forewarn you, you got a lot of tips coming your way today. So if you type notes on your computer, get it ready. If you have a notebook and you handwrite your notes because it feels better to write it down, please, please, please grab it because we're going to go deep in terms of sharing some tips that I really hope will help you. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I thought what we would do is start with just making sure that we align on a definition. All right. So the definition that I came up with, and I think you'll see many different definitions out there, I thought I would use Harvard Business Review. I loved how they defined it and the difference between a mentor and a sponsor, and this was published in October 20 of 21. They basically say a relationship mentor is defined as a relationship between someone sharing knowledge and providing guidance, which is usually the mentor, learning from that person's experience and example is a mentee. I also have a quote that I like from John Maxwell that says one of the greatest values of mentors is the ability to see ahead what others cannot see and to help them navigate a course to their destination. I'll read that one more time. One of the greatest values of a mentor is the ability to see ahead what others cannot see and to help them navigate a course to their destination. I think it's important to note that there are some outdated notions of what mentoring is all about. For example, some people think mentors have to be older than you. Some people think mentors have to be more senior than you, and they have to be in positions of authority. But I think it's important for you to find someone where you feel like you can learn from them. They have knowledge, they have experience that you can learn from. One of the things that I am most proud of is I have mentors at all different stages of their career. I actually have mentors that are significantly younger than me. As you all know, who've been on this modern mentoring journey with me, dealing with social. I'm a digital adapter. I'm that person who didn't grow up with social media. So it wasn't something that I naturally embraced. It was something that I had to learn, and I'm still learning. So what I have tried to do is surround myself with people who really deeply understand it, and it's a part of who they are. And I actually get mentored through that. I get mentored in other areas of my career as well. But I do want you to understand that you can have mentors at all levels. You know, some of the best mentors are going to be your peer to peer mentors. You know why? Because you're learning from each other. You're both going through the same thing at the same time. They have different skills and experiences than you, and it's really you leaning on them to learn from them, and hopefully it's reciprocal. Now, I think it's also important to note that when you're looking for a mentor, because some people are out there saying, well, how do I find a mentor? I think it's important that you can look up the chain, but you also got to look left and right. And you also should look down and all around because you're going to be surrounded by great people that can be a mentor for you. Again, because you don't feel like they have to have a certain title, they have to be more seasoned. You're just looking for someone that you can learn from. And it depends, and we're going to talk about this, it depends on what are you looking for a mentor for. All right, so remember that. Now, there is something new that is evolving, and that's something called a digital mentor. That is the role that I'm trying to play for so many people because I'm trying to scale my mentoring efforts because there's not enough hours in a day to mentor people. So I'm trying to choose topics where I can record, and it's hopefully going to be a part of a library that will live on forever, and you can choose the content based on the subject that you have an interest in, and you have people I've interviewed, you hear from me directly, and I'm trying to share my wisdom with you. And with this platform, you actually get to ask me questions and I can take them live. Digital mentors are all around you. You have a lot of people out there creating digital content, sharing their experience for you to be able to curate those different digital mentors and follow them and learn from them. And some of the digital mentors you may never meet in person, but you're learning from all of the digital content that they have put out there. So I want you to also think about, where do I lean on digital mentors, and how do you curate that list of people you want to follow so that you can study their content and then you look to fill in the gaps? All right. The other thing that I think is really important for me to define for you is a sponsor. All right. A sponsor is that person who's going to be your advocate, speak to your capabilities, your experience, any successes that they've had an opportunity to witness, and they're that person that whenever you're not in the room, they're that person speaking on your behalf. All right? This is that person that brings up your name when opportunities are brought forward that they think you'd be a great fit for. Some people refer to them as references. Some people say they're the ones carrying your papers. Some people say they're your co-signer. Whatever it is, however you define it, the sponsor is the person that has direct experience with you, and they can speak to what they're going to get when they get you. All right. They speak to your strengths. They speak to your successes. They speak to what your aspirations are and what you want to do. They can also speak to where you're going to need additional coaching and support. All right. So that's the difference as you define it from a mentor and a sponsor. All right. I'm also going to throw in here, before I start throwing in tips, one more term that I want to define, and that's your board of advisors. All right. Some people say, well, I don't just have mentors, I have a board of advisors. What I want you to know about the board of advisors, you choose the number you need. Some people have 5 people, some people have 10 people. But these are the people that are your ride or die. They invest in you. They can be a mirror to you. They speak truth to you. When they need to give you critiquing, they speak lovingly to you to make sure that you can hear the feedback. You know, no matter what you're going through, if you're having a good day, a bad day, a difficult challenge, trying to go up for a promotion, going up for a new job, there's someone on this board of advisors that you can call and you get your counsel from. And usually your board of advisors are a group of people that you surround yourself with that you know are going to be all for you. Like, I know I have a board of advisors that they're going to be Team Lani no matter what. On a good day, on a bad day, they are going to ride for me always. And I know they're always going to stand toe to toe with me and give it to me straight, whether I like it or not, because they care about me. And they want to make sure that I keep 2 feet planted on the ground. Everyone needs people that they can put in that board of advisors. And yes, I do tell people when they are a member of my board of advisors. All right? It is important to do that. Let me read some of the comments out here. Lauren, one of the greatest values of a mentor is the ability to see. Okay, thanks for typing the quote for me, Lauren. So everyone, if you want that quote that I read, it's out there. Alicia, I love that Maxwell quote, adding that as an impact bullet for mentoring in my Connect. I love that. Please do that. Christopher, I've learned how to live more for my boyfriend than any other mentor. He is 14 years younger than me, but I've had so many firsts with him in my 30s that most have in their 20s. Don't let age block your ability to learn from someone. Amen. Well said, Christopher, and you are very lucky. Mishka, hello there. Thank you so much for this platform. I listened to you and Lakeisha got this pocket inbox. Oh, awesome. That's wonderful. Jason, can your mentors and sponsors also be on your board, or should they be different? No, actually, great question, Jason. Your mentors and your sponsors, people who play in those roles, that's how they become a member of your board of directors. Now, for some, they may be different, but most of your members of your board of directors will come from that pool of mentors and sponsors throughout your life. All right. Shubham, in the initial stages of your career journey, could you share a specific example of how you landed your initial founding member of Team Lani? Well, you'll be amazed at how I found Team Lani. Team Lani are the ones that they're always giving you the compliments. They're very, I can give you many stories. So when I started out early in my career, I noticed that there were different people, because I used to, early on I was a systems administrator, so I was very technical. And then I started doing a lot of presentations, and I did a lot of deep technical presentations, and people would come up to me and they would just say, "Oh, Lani, I just love it when you present. You have a way of taking such a complex topic and simplifying it." And then every now and then say, "Hey, have you heard about this opportunity? I think you should consider it." And then I would just hear that and I said, "Thank you." And then they would help connect me, or I would get an email saying, "Hey, I think it would be important for you to be at this meeting. I think you're going to find that it's in alignment with the things that I think you have interest in." It's those that have taken a particular interest in you, Shabam, and you know that they didn't have to do that. Lani is on Team Shabam, okay? It's that person that if you have a question and you need an answer, or you're going through a struggle and you need some coaching, you can go to them and they're going to give you some wise advice, but they're going to be honest with you, all right? I have just found throughout my life, it's the person that goes out of their way to check in on me, find out what I'm interested in, what's important to me, what are my aspirations, and they make time for me to sit down with them. All right. All right. I hope that answered your question. Good to see you. Oh, Andrea is out here as well. Renee, how do you ask someone to be your mentor? Let's push pause. All right. Let's push pause because I'm going to answer that question with the tips. All right. So let me go back to, actually, I just defined everything for you. Now let's get into the tips and the unwritten rules. Okay. First tip, do your homework. All right. What does that mean? Create one slide with a few talking points that can crisply articulate who you are, and I want them to understand who you are personally and professionally. Tell them a little bit about where you grew up. Let them know where you went to school. If you have a partner, share information about your partner. If you have kids, share information about your kids. Let them get to know you personally. What are some of your values, right? What's important to you? Care about pets, it's okay to share that. Some people even put pictures. I want you to also talk about your professional background. They should have an appreciation for the experience you bring into the table. They should also understand what your career aspirations are with some loose timelines. Let them know what your career experiences have been. Try to pick themes, because if you've been in business a long time, you're probably going to have a lot of roles, but maybe focus on themes. For those of you earlier in career, list the roles you've had and what are some of the successes and accomplishments you've been able to attain. All right. In terms of aspirations, I want you to say, I'm interested in moving into sales, or I'm interested in moving into leadership. Give them a loose timeline. Like to do that over the next 1 to 3 years. For those of you already in leadership and you're trying to move into senior leadership, would like to move to second line leadership, third line leadership, or executive roles or whatever, try to stay away from actually naming the exact role. The reason for that is the feedback you might get from some people is that, well, you're so specific. Are you open to considering other roles? So one of the things I received early on is talk about the experiences you want to gain. I would like experiencing managing an organization of 100 people, or I would like the experience of owning a number where I'm managing a portfolio of accounts. I want global experience. I would like to have some strategic experience, managing strategic projects for the company. So be clear in terms of the experiences, but don't lock it into a role you may do. For example, that role is the general manager of sales or the general manager of engineering, whatever it might be. All right. Then you want to be able to articulate your strengths. All right. You also want to be clear on areas that you need development. This might be your blind spots. All right. Keep that in mind. Weaknesses, gaps, whatever language you want to use. All right. And here's the most important thing in your homework I want you to be working on. I want you to be ready to answer this question. So think about your answer before you start talking to anyone about being your mentor. If you're asked the question, what can I do for you? Or how can I help? What's going to be your response? Because if you're not clear what you need and what you want from that relationship, then you need to do your homework before you go have that conversation. Because you don't want to waste their time. You have to be specific and be very intentional about the engagement, because it will help that mentor determine if it's a good fit. All right? And believe it or not, I'm still in tip 1, but I'm almost done. And here's the last thing I want you to think about as a part of tip number 1. I want you to also think about, what can you offer in return? Mentoring relationships should be two-sided. You should be getting something from the relationship, but the person who's mentoring you should also get something from the relationship. So take inventory on what do you have to offer. For example, if you are in a different part of the business than them, you can offer them experience and insights on your part of the business. If you're closer to the customer or the partner ecosystem, you can say, I can offer you customer perspective, the voice of the customer. I could offer you the voice of the partner. If you have unique skills in something, I actually really know Microsoft's modern workplace solutions extremely well. If there are things you want to know about that platform, I could share a lot with you. So you think about where you have strengths and where it could be beneficial to the other person. And we're going to come back to this, but you want to do that homework to take that inventory, because you're going to need it for the exercise we're going to do a little bit later. All right? Now, most people ask, well, where do you find the mentors? We talked about it early on, where you can find your mentors. You got to look up, down, around, all around you are mentors. But if you find that you're stuck, once you've done your homework and now you know where you need some help, you'll be able to tell the people around you who have a wide network, I'm really looking for a great mentor that has experience in whatever that might be for you. Do you know someone that you can introduce me to? Okay? That's the first tip, is do your homework. All right, let me keep moving because I know I've got a lot more tips and I don't want to run out of time. The second tip, those of you, and I say this and I say it with so much love, but I want anyone who listens to this broadcast, I don't want you to ever, if you've done this, I don't want you to ever make this mistake again. Don't ever send someone an email and ask them to be your mentor. They don't know you. You do not just come out and ask people to be your mentor, and you do not just come out and ask people to be your sponsor. It's not, that's just like you walk up to someone and say, will you marry me? Or will you be my best friend? They don't know you. Mentoring is a very personal relationship. You've got to allow people time to get to know you. Now, that has worked for some people, but the best relationships are one in which you have to invest time, allow them to get to know you a little bit, and you need to get to know them. Is this someone you want to enter into a relationship with to give you advice all the time? So the first thing I would suggest is start with requesting a 15-minute conversation to get acquainted. Have that 15-minute conversation to get acquainted, and you can give them your resume, you can give them If you have a slide that you've created, you can send that to them ahead of time. Just have a 15-minute coffee chat if you're in person, just to get to know them. And make sure you do not take up the entire 15 minutes talking about yourself. Find a short version of how you tell your story, and then ask a question and let them respond. And just start to build that initial connection. If you ask them one question and you really like the response, try to secure a second meeting and call it, I've really enjoyed this 15 minutes. I'm really hoping you would not mind taking another call with me. And I have a particular situation I would love to discuss with you. And maybe we can have a quick coaching call. After the coaching call, you have the meeting with them. You may decide, wow, this is really great. Then you can start to ask that person if they have room to be able to take you on as a mentor, and then you can share with them what your goals are. All right. So to answer your question, I believe, Andrea, what is the best way to build your sponsor and mentor relations being new to the organization? I hope that helps you. All right. Shabam, I see your feedback. Thank you. Great guidance. Talk about the experience you want to gain. Articulate your strengths. Be open to your blind spots. Share your areas for improvement. Most important, be specific in areas of help, support, and intentional about engagement. Yes, you got it perfectly, Shabam. Hi, Frank. Givers gain. That is absolutely right. When I hear sponsor, I naturally think, hi, Michelle. I naturally think my current or past managers, but I know it should also include those with whom you have worked closely with. Yes, ma'am. That is exactly what your sponsors are. How then do you bring these people in as a sponsor? I'll get to that. So hang on to that one, Michelle. Bidirectional mentorship, so important to mentorship relationships. Yes, Jason, spot on. And Mary Alex said the same thing, reciprocal relationships. Please remember that. Do not turn this mentoring relationship into only a one-way street. Okay? All right, let me keep going. Tip 3, send your one-pager or your resume up front with your stated intention. So some people wait and give it to the person in the meeting. You know what's wrong with that? Most of us won't say anything. But what we're thinking is, sure would have been nice if I had this ahead of time. I could have reviewed it and I could have known what they wanted before I walked in here, and I could have been prepared. All right. So if you can, send it to them ahead of time and say, my intention for the conversation is to allow you just a few minutes to get to know me, but I really just want to get to know you. All right. And in that way, they don't go in all guarded. They can go in a little more relaxed because they already know what the intention of the conversation is. Tip 4, be grateful. I said flattery will get you everywhere within reason. Now, have you ever been in a meeting with someone and they give you so many compliments that you're at the point now where you kind of go, all right, now you're going overboard? So be generous with your praise, but don't go overboard. So they don't start to think you're not being authentic. All right. But you want to start the meeting with gratitude because they're not getting paid to mentor you. That's a choice to mentor you. All right. And to give you that time. So you want to make sure you start the meeting with gratitude and ask up front if they had an opportunity to review the documents. Because if they had an opportunity to review the documents, then all you have to say, is there anything on the document you want to discuss? Then you don't have to take up time in that first meeting to discuss those things because they've done their homework. If they have not reviewed it, say, would it be okay with you if I take, you can review it after the meeting? Here are the 3 things I'd love for you to know about me. And then you bring your question that you would like to have a dialogue on that would allow you can ask them more questions about them, their background, their experiences, or you can bring a problem or a question you have about the organization and then see how that initial dialogue goes. Because remember, in that first dialogue, they're deciding if you're a person they want to enter into a relationship with. I hope that helps someone there. Did I have a question? Are there times where people on your board, mentor, sponsorships that were only with you for a partial season in your life? Absolutely. Absolutely. The, just so you know, mentors, sponsors, they all get to choose how long they support you. And yes, there are people sometimes that we have to let go of as mentees. And there are mentees that sometimes have to let go of mentors because it's no longer a good fit. Remember, it's a choice, it's reciprocal. You've got to make sure you're getting as much value from it as they are. And they've got to decide, am I getting any value from this? And do I want to continue to invest my time? So absolutely, it could be just for a certain season in your life or period of time, or when you're going through something. I also want to encourage you, as you continue in mentoring relationships, have an agenda and communicate the agenda ahead of time, because you got to give them time to think about the topic if they want to go look for references, resources, experiences they've had that they want to draw from. Give them time to think about it. Everybody's had a full day, so they enter into a mentoring conversation with you. Some of them may be like, I can't think of anything right now, and you may not get value from the conversation. So please be prepared and make sure you let them know ahead of time what your expectations are. So send that agenda ahead of time. All right, the next tip, be brief and don't cover too much detail. That I've already kind of slightly touched on that. Some people, and I've been in conversations with people that ask for time with me, and they'll get 30 minutes and they'll talk for 28 minutes of it. And then in the last 2 minutes, they want me to answer a question. That's not fair. So please try to figure out how you can be concise, get straight to the point, and please do not get long-winded. Okay? So that you create that space to have a conversation. One of the things I like to say, it's a dialogue, not a monologue. It's a dialogue, not a monologue. So remember that. All right? All right. So the next tip, be specific. Bring specific questions to the meeting, and you have to determine if the advice is satisfactory to you. Okay? But bring specific questions to the meeting that you're looking for answers to, and then you get to be the judge. And that also is important for you when you're trying to decide who do you want to have mentor you. Because that person's style and approach may not be one you're comfortable with. All right? So just remember that. Number 7, mentoring relationships should have a beginning date and an end date. Let's talk to those of you that hold on to mentoring relationships and want to enter into these monthly meetings every single month, and you just want to keep it going year after year after year. You're actually being a little selfish. You should say the formal part of the relationship is over. Now they're a member of my board of directors and we have check-ins. We have check-ins. You don't have to have that formal mentoring relationship anymore because you've done that. Free them up to go formally mentor someone else, and now they're a member of your board of directors. If you're getting ready to go up for a new job and you want to use them as a sounding board as you have prepared some information that you'd like to share during that interview, you can consult with them and they'll give you feedback to help arm you to be able to go for that interview with more confidence. Right? Or they have connections within their network that they can help connect you. So you're still leveraging them, but you're not holding them up. And every single month I'm talking to them, but you still connect with them periodically to keep the relationship warm. All right. Tip number 8, you also want to make sure that you follow up before and after this discussion. Let them know that you're looking forward to the conversation and what you're expecting, and follow up afterwards and let them know what you got from the conversation. One of my favorite questions to ask during a mentoring conversation at the end is, what are you taking away from this conversation? What's the most important thing I've said? You know why I asked that question? One is I want to make sure they're listening and they got value from it. Because if you're not getting value from it, then I'm wasting my time. Right? So I just don't want to be in that situation where we spend all that time together and you get nothing from it. So make sure You're following up afterwards, thanking them again, and letting them know what you're taking from it. And if they gave you homework, 'cause I love homework, if you get homework, let them know what you've taken as homework and follow up on that homework. All right. And share with them what you've learned. All right. Now, tip number 9. Here's another big one. At the start of any mentoring relationship, I think it's important you have a mentoring agreement. This is another unwritten rule. Everybody is different. All right. Let me tell you what is in a mentoring agreement. How long will you meet? Is that a 30-minute, 45 minutes? How often are you going to meet? Are you going to meet monthly? Are we going to meet quarterly? We're going to meet semi-annually. What are the mentor's expectations of you if they say yes to mentoring you? What are their expectations? Ask the question. I guarantee you when you ask it, they will have a point of view. What are your expectations? Have you communicated that? You've got to invest the time there. You got to determine, how do they want check-ins? Do they want to just hear from you via chat? Do they want to get text from you? Do they want just voicemails from you, emails? You decide. How do they want check-ins? What are your goals? What is it you want to focus on? I had a mentee once. She sent me a laundry list of all the topics she wanted to cover. She sent it to me in chat. She said, here's all the, let's just say there are like 30 items on there. All the 30 items I'd like to talk to you through our mentoring agreement. And I thought, oh boy, how are we going to cover all this? We're going to have to prioritize this list, right? So she had the right idea. Have specific things that you wanted to cover. Now I'm going to need a little bit more help and guidance on which one are you struggling with and how do we prioritize this list? All right. In that mentoring agreement, what would you like to learn from them? What would you like? You need to ask the mentor, what can I offer you? What would you like to learn from me? Have that conversation up front. If you have that conversation up front, then everybody is on the same page. And then you just practice it consistently. And I do think it's important, just check in from time to time, every couple of months. Say, is this relationship still working for you? What modifications would you like to make? All right, so remember that. Tip number 10, I said, be generous with your mentor. Send them notes, send them books, articles, any key learnings you've had, whatever you think may be of interest to your mentor. That's how you keep the relationship warm, and that's how you continue to add value throughout the year. That's a powerful little nugget. And that's the stuff nobody tells you. Send little notes. Sometimes it's a thank you note. Sometimes it's to let them know the progress that you're making. All right? Just make sure you do that. Let me give one more, and then I'm going to come read some of the chats. Tip number 11, be vulnerable. I have had mentees enter into a relationship with me. It's hard not to be vulnerable with me because I'll break you down quick. Because for me to continue to want to be authentic with you, I need to see it in you first. If I see you're going to be authentic with me, then I'm going to continue to be authentic. But if I see you have a wall up, what's going to happen? I'm going to mirror it eventually. Okay? So one of the things I try to do is I try to get people to be really vulnerable early on, because the best relationships come from a place where you're not feeling judged and you feel like you can show up as who you are. And in your raw state, whether that's good or bad, you've got to be willing to be vulnerable and open up. You got to talk honestly about what you're going through so someone can genuinely help you. But if you're using this relationship because you're just trying to get a person on your side so they can eventually sponsor you for something, you're not entering into the relationship the right way, and that's probably going to backfire. All right? So just be vulnerable. Open up about your challenges. I also think it's important to be an active listener. So when they share things with you, check in. Say, all right, this is what I heard. Did I understand that correctly, or did I miss a point? And then allow them to clarify or say, you know what, I didn't quite follow the point you were making there. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? That's active listening. That way you're demonstrating that you're really paying attention and you're trying to seek to understand what they're saying and how you can apply it. All right, I'm gonna pause there and let me check in on my questions before I go to the, think that's the, I got few more tips for you. So let's see here. Alicia, that's a great call out, Lani. Our mentors can become like a safety blanket. So inviting them to the board of directors is a great way to continue the relationship. Yes, Alicia, but don't say this. All right, I'm no longer going to make you my mentor, but I'm going to make you a member of my board of directors. You can say that if you are really close to them and they'll be like, oh, that's really sweet. Or maybe as you're bringing the relationship to a formal end, you say, I'm really hoping that you'll keep that door open for me, that I can still check in with you quarterly, or as I'm running into challenges, I'll reach out to you. Are you supportive of that? That's another way to say it without being so formal about it. Frank, I love the idea of a mentoring agreement. I'm glad you like that. Not many people do that. So I hope a lot of people start to practice that. Iona, hi Iona, having a safe space in your mentor is everything. Yes, ma'am, everything. Alicia, thank you for the coaching. Absolutely. You want to make sure that you have that safe space so that you don't worry about it going anywhere. By the way, even in your mentoring agreement, saying it out loud, letting them know that what's discussed in this conversation will never be shared with anyone. Every conversation I've had from a mentoring relationship, I don't care how personal it is, I will never repeat it. Never. Because that is the agreement I have with my mentees. So what they share with me stays with me. Now, if it's crossing the line, if it's hurting somebody, I will have to let them know, especially if they're with my company, I have to say, I'm obligated to report it, but I've never been in that situation. So please know that. All right. All right. Tip number 12, don't take them for granted. A lot of people take their mentors for granted. What I mean is they just expect for them to always be there. They expect for them to always make time, but you have to remember they're all running businesses. They all have things buying for their time. Just don't take them for granted and let them know that they're appreciated. That's why I always say demonstrate gratitude in some kind of way. Just making sure you say it. Maybe you send them a note, whatever, just so they know that you value that time. A lot of people take their mentors for granted. And then when their mentors just kind of drift off into other things, then they wonder if they did something wrong. And it was just that it wasn't as prioritized on your side, so they start deprioritizing it on their side. Or you never know. I tell people all the time, there's a lot of demands put on people, especially during this time. Time is just so precious and so limited. So they may not be able to dedicate as much time to the monthly or weekly coaching, whatever you're receiving. They're saying they probably have to go to a more infrequent basis. Tip number 13, if you have not done any of the above in any of your mentoring relationships, at a minimum, I want you to go back and I want you to establish clear goals at a minimum. For those of you that do not have a formal mentoring agreement in place, actually, as I am kicking off some of my mentoring relationships, I got relaxed because the mentee usually drives the relationship. But I am recognizing not a lot of people have experience being a good mentee. So I am going to bring some of this discipline into my relationships where it does not exist. Because it is important and it becomes a compass for the relationship. So if you have a mentor where you don't have a mentoring agreement, at a minimum, go back and establish some goals with that mentor. All right. Tip number 14, let's talk about the ones that feel like their boss is their mentor. If you have that in your boss, someone who really believes in you, does that coaching, supports you, and have those regular development conversations, I call that a great leader. You may think of them as a boss. That's fine. I think you're blessed if you have that. Enjoy every minute of that and soak it up for everything it is. But you still need a mentor outside them. Because in those situations where you need to ask why you haven't been promoted or you want to get promoted, how to have that conversation, you may not want to ask your manager that. You may want to ask your mentor that. If you're having a difficult time on the job, you may want to get some coaching before you go have that conversation with your manager. So just don't forget, anybody who has the ability to fire you, you don't want to necessarily leave it all with them in terms of every single emotion and thing you go through, you take it to them. Remember this, because there is a such thing as you've got to have some kind of professional distance so that they can remain objective about your performance, right? And give you appropriate coaching and support along your journey. But great leaders are always going to care about your development. They're always going to care that you're getting the support you need in the organization to accomplish your goals. And they want to be there to support you on your journey. But please do not confuse them. Let your boss be your boss and leverage their leadership capabilities, but find your mentor outside that. And I also tell people you need mentors inside your company and you need mentors outside your company because there are some things you need to share that may be about the company that you want to make sure that you don't risk sharing that with someone that may decide to be a little too generous with your secrets. Okay? So find mentors inside the company and outside the company so you can be very open about what you're going through. All right? So that was my last tip on mentoring. Let me check in really quick here. Mentoring a boss, so agree, serious blessing, which also means it's important to train oneself to not expect them to automatically be a mentor. This person is first and foremost your boss. Love this one. Yes, this is one that people forget and they take for granted. Dual roles can be very, very tricky. That is so true. So true. It reminds me of the saying, good mentors, managers encourages you to move on and grow in your career. Great mentors expect you to move on to grow in your career. Absolutely. I always tell people, anybody who is trying to talk you into staying, be cautious. Because people who are really supportive of you, they want to give you your wings so you can fly. They don't want to hold you back. You remember that, all right? So let's talk about sponsorship. I only have a few tips here that I'm going to share with you, and then we can go wherever you want to go. This, to me, sponsorship is a game changer because you need that person who has that experience with you that is going to advocate for you and be a reference for you, carry your paper in the room, whatever analogy you want to use, you need that to be successful. Because there is no possible way you can be everywhere and know everything. You need people who are looking out for you. All right. So here's what I'm thinking. Tip number one, make a list of everyone you think is a sponsor. Just think about everyone in your environment that you can tell are invested in you and will advocate for you. And you see it demonstrated because they've given feedback to your manager. You've seen the communication they've had about you. They have advocated for you. You want a promotion. They went and advocated for you to get a promotion when it wasn't even time for you to get a promotion possible. You've seen them write notes on your behalf. They've written on your LinkedIn profile references. They've brought resources to you. Think about everyone who you think might be a sponsor. All right? This next thing I want you to do is send them a special thank you note and tell them how much you appreciate them. And you know why? Because gratitude is the biggest thing that will help your relationships go the distance. No one wants to be unappreciated. Say thank you to them. All right. And I want you to always find unique ways. This is the third tip to keep the relationship warm. Let's talk about that. Now, someone that you know is a sponsor for you, could be in an entirely different organization that you don't even work with anymore, but y'all worked closely together at one time. I want you to think about, how do I think about connecting with them? And this is a tip someone shared with me just last week. Somebody was a professional network. I apologize, I don't remember the person's name, but I'm sure going to share their tip. They were like a master network. They would actually think about all the people that they wanted to connect with monthly, and they would plan connections every month on who they wanted to reach out to, say hello to, send an email to, place a call, leave a voicemail, whatever, send a gift to, whatever it was. They would plan it out monthly, the ones they wanted to stay in connection with quarterly, and which ones they wanted to stay in touch with semi-annually, and which ones they wanted to stay in touch with on an annual basis. Annual basis may be only at the holidays you send them a card. Or the one that you're connecting with monthly, you may say, all right, every month I got to shift it up a little bit. I'm checking in this month, asking how their family doing. Next month, I had a great read I wanted to share with them. The next month, hey, I had a great success on the job and I wanted to share it with them. The next month, hey, I heard something was being released. Thought you may want to know that early in case you want to go out and get it. You see how I'm thinking about it? You've got to be strategic in terms of how do you keep those relationships warm. Do you need to connect with them monthly? No, you know the person, but it may mean, you know what, I should at least check in on a quarterly basis. You know why that's important? Because when it comes to the time where you need to leverage that relationship, let's say, you know what, I'm going up for a job and I know this person could help influence the decision. I'm going to call up my sponsor and see if they'll advocate. That's why you can't go up to someone and say, will you be my sponsor? And you don't even know them and they don't even know you. Okay, that is the most awkward thing you can do to somebody. I think it's awkward to do it for the mentoring relationship, and it's just as awkward to do it on the sponsor because it requires a relationship and a connection. All right? All right. Now, tip number 4, ask for help when needed. That's pretty straightforward. But whenever you need help, whenever you are stuck, whenever you need advice, your sponsors could be members of your board of directors. We already talked about that. Call them up and say, hey, you know what? Or send them an email. Say, hey, I'm challenged in this area. I really need help with research. I have so many people I can call for that. You know what? I'm really struggling. I remember when I was trying to learn LinkedIn Live, and I was like, you know, I've never done this before. Could you spend a few minutes with me just helping me understand how the platform works? Right? Or, you know what? I'm about to do a presentation in front of 20 executives. And you know what? I feel like my presentation is too long. Could you spend a few minutes with me to help me make sure that I'm on message and that I'm delivering it in a way in which others can hear me and understand? Would you be willing to do that with me and do a quick dry run and help me tighten up? Those are all things you can leverage your sponsors, members of your board of directors. You can leverage your mentors for that as well. But your sponsors are the ones that are advocating for you and bringing opportunities to you. Don't take them for granted. Can you have sponsors outside your company? Absolutely you can. Because you also need sponsors, like if you're an entrepreneur and there's an area of your business where you're trying to sharpen skills in. Maybe you don't have the financial acumen, or maybe you don't have the business acumen, or you don't have the sales acumen or the technical acumen. You may have sponsors that have skills and experiences in that area, or they may have a network of people you can get access to. Or you may be looking for capital for your business and you need to plug into their networks because they have access to people with money that may be able to invest in your business. Sponsors could be anyone that will advocate for you. So they can be inside the company to help with your career trajectory and support, and it could be outside. So absolutely I am. All right. And the last tip I have is look for ways to help them. Again, reciprocal. You're going to come to them asking for what you need, but you also need to be willing to say, and what can I do for you? All right. And that was my last tip. All right, so I got a few people commenting here. Iona, I think I took care of you. Type in and let me know if I answered your question. Thanks for pointing out the importance of an agenda and being specific about what you were looking to accomplish. Absolutely. Siobhan says, thanks, Lani. My favorite 5 tips. Do your homework, be vulnerable, define mentorship agreement, bi-directional engagement, follow through board of advisors. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I see. Hi, Ashley. I see the yes, hi, yes. So true. Thumbs up. I think I've gotten most of the comments. If I didn't, is there anything else top of mind? Favorite? Gratitude. How can you be of service to them? Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm looking at the time. You know, I want to keep it tight to an hour. Do we have any more questions? Great learnings. I'm so glad to hear that. My pleasure. You know, here's what I'm going to leave you all with. If you have a question, throw it in there with the last few minutes we have left. Oh, here's a question. It's the identifying ways I can bring value to a sponsor that gives me pause sometimes. Any tips on how to figure it out? Absolutely. So when you're thinking about how to bring, first of all, whenever you're talking to them, ask them, is there any way you could be of service to them? All right. So, first and foremost, just ask the question. The second thing you can do is you remember we talked about in the homework, think about your strengths. You're already capturing your experiences. You're already thinking about who you are in totality as you start to position yourself with new relationships, right? People you may not know that you want to mentor you. You're going to probably see there's some themes. Like, let me take me, for example. For me, one of the things that I can offer people is I have been in sales for a very long time. A lot of people love to hear voice of the customer. I've also been in the partner world for a long time. They love to hear voice of the partner. They want to know how to make connections with different groups. I've worked across all of the segments of our business for the most part. People could come to me and talk to me about that. They also may want to tap into my network. You'll be amazed at how many people have built relationships with me because they're trying to grow in the area of diversity and inclusion. And they want a safe place to be able to talk through difficult things that they don't want to talk to other people about. And they want a safe place where they can be vulnerable and say, I have no clue what that is all about. Could you talk to me? Why is that offensive? And you could help in that way. So sometimes you think it has to be something really big, and all they want to tap into are experiences, relationships. Maybe you've had some accomplishments that they want to learn from. I had someone come to me and say, "Hey, I just want to learn from you because I like how you diversified your career, and I'm learning that I've just been in the same, you know." Pillar for my whole career. I want to jump out. I'd love to learn from you. How did you do that? What's the best way to start thinking about it? So I hope that helps, Alicia. It's usually not something always so big. It's sometimes just the smaller experiences that you have that people want to benefit from. But don't hesitate to ask. They'll tell you what they need. All right? Awesome. Thanks, Frank. Amazing tips. You have to write a book. I'm trying. Lord, the work, the job, you name it. Everything's on me. I promise you I will. I get intimidated sometimes trying to establish a relationship knowing that executives already have a number of mentors. I always wonder how to stand out. First and foremost, I think the first thing I want to say to you, Andrea, is you already stand out. And I want you to know you matter. And you absolutely deserve to have an executive or a mentor. You just got to find one that will make the time. So don't worry about doing anything special. Just be you because you're already special the way you are. All right? And the right mentor will come forward. But make sure that once you've invested a little bit in the relationship, don't hesitate to ask the question if they're willing to enter into an agreement with you, especially once you're clear on what you want. Because sometimes when a mentor hears what you want, they may say they're not the best fit. All right? But I hope that helps you. Great. And hi, Kalish. Great insights into mentorship. I love the following: gratitude, authenticity, vulnerability, and defining the scope of the mentorship agenda timelines. My pleasure. All right. I want to thank you all for joining. I am so excited that you were able to get value from that conversation. It means everything to me that you are getting value from this and that you continue to invest the time. I want you to follow me. You can follow me on LinkedIn. We have the Modern Mentoring Village. Please join. I really want to build that up so we can all mentor one another and support one another and share resources. You can also follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on IG. I'm Miss Lani Phillips. And I just want to say thank you. And I'll have one closing thought. I know I'm at the top of the hour. I love this quote that I read from Oprah, and you all know I'm a big Oprah fan. She says, "A mentor is someone who let me back up. A mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself. A mentor is someone who allows you to know that no matter how dark the night, in the morning, joy will come. A mentor is someone who allows you to see the higher parts of yourself when sometimes it becomes hidden to your own view. My hope for all of you is that you find some great mentors. You identify these great sponsors and you continue to nurture those relationships and you make them reciprocal. And most importantly, the only reason I am doing this is because this is what I wanted when I was trying to start in my career. I'm just trying to pay it forward. And it is my only ask. You owe me nothing. Pay it forward. I will see you next time on Modern Mentoring. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Bye-bye.